Folks, here super... I don't know if it's an advanced subject for rigging in Blender, but it's actually pretty damn complicated. So I'll show you that automation for rigs, there are pathways that are different, which are different for the parenting relations pathway and the bone constraints, or perhaps other drivers, I don't know, but pathways. And this is quite tricky because it often will occur, the issues with that, because of inconsistencies in those pathways in rigs which contain some sort of automation, like indirect posing of some bone will affect properties of others. So for instance, here I have maybe a good example. It's simple, but it is maybe a bit hard to reproduce in exactly this ice rig case, but at least I'll show you, I'll try to present how these pathways difference occur. So you see that if I scale this bone, the eyes icons there, they scale, right? Okay, but why this is happening? Well, this bone is parented to the head bone. The head bone, of course, has little to do here. It's just I'm setting I'm just explaining here from scratch, sort of. Then this bone is the controller of one eye. We see that it gets scaled to it. However, this bone is not parented to the master eye track here, controller. It is parent also to the head, which is here, this deformed head bone. And for some reason I've decided to parent this deformed icon here, the one in the center, not the tiny ones, to the deformed head as well. Maybe this is not necessary, but I could perhaps parent directly to it, but I'm not sure that will work. This works right now. So what I'm going to, but this bone has, which leads the tiny ones by parenting, but that doesn't matter. This one has a copy location to this one, copy location bone constraint with these settings, and a copy scale. So the shrink wrap is the other feature for is another problem. It's another problematic. So here the copy scale is because it is not parent to the controller bone, so it will at least inherit some location, some sub copy scale through bone constraint on this setting. Okay, so when I scale this, the bone here scales and everything else scales, right? And if I scale this, everything scales. But actually this bone, which is not parented to the master, the control eye left and right, they are not parented to the, so how they have a copy transforms, could be a copy scale instead, but has a copy transforms which includes the copy scale to this, and this allows this indirect stuff. So it's this scaling to this is inheritance from bone constraint pathway. However, and this one also is a bone constraint pathway because of the copy scale bone constraint on this targeting this. So you have a full bone constraints pathway. However, what do you think would happen if, of course, if I take this off, this is still scaling because of the copy scale, but this of course doesn't scale anymore for here. But what now if I parent this to the master eye track instead of the head? So now note that the bone here is being scaled by a parenting relation master ice track parent, but the eye there is not scaling the deform eye, the bone, nor the eye. Ignore the right side, just the left side that matters. So this is because in this particular case, the parenting relation pathway is not then making this transform, inherited transform, scaling up of this bone or scaling down, to affect this one through a copy scale bone constraint because of local coordinates. Actually, this bone, sometimes it won't appear, but this bone is not scaling. This one is, but not this. So this is local coordinates. It's local coordinates of scale, although it's change I guess it is scaling, yes. Now I'm quite unsure, but let's see. Yeah, it's scaling down proportional, right? So it is becoming minuscule, although not in the same rate of the other, right? So this parenting relation got inherited by this, but because this is using now local coordinates, it doesn't change the local coordinates of this. This bone, which is not the deform eye, which is not parented to this in a sequence, so the parenting relation pathway doesn't get through. So this is useless because it is not parented. However, if I just parented this to this, then probably this could create some other problems in my rig, possibly. But now if it might suffer indirect scaling. Yes, it does. You see, this indirect scaling is a pathway of parenting relation pathway. Yeah, that's it. Of course, if I do that, it will probably do double transforms. No, not even, because it's not reaching anyways as before I changed the parent, right? So this is useless anyhow right now. So I'm changing the parent back to the deform head. Changing here, let's also select mirror, copy to select. Okay, going back to the original parent. You see, it's still not working. So I need, in this case, the pathway of the bone constraint. So now it's a full pathway of bone constraint, because and I've just forget which was the original parent of this. I think it was the head also. So you have this, now you have this. So yes, now a full pathway of bone constraint to get there. And so this is how in other cases this is more complicated. So just to conclude, it's very important to know the pathway, what is happening, which transform is happening through in certain bones interactions. So often I found this doing plenty of facial rig structures. for automation. Usually we are preferable to complex rigging automation. The parenting relation pathway is not so versatile. It will not be transferred in cases like I've just presented here. So if we want good automation, sometimes it's not possible to do with the parenting relations. So it's better to just parent the bones to some higher hierarchy stuff and get every other single interaction between these lower hierarchical bones, all this, right, done through bone constraints, because the bone constraint pathway is very, very responsive. Like, I can't say exactly in this case if the opposite, imagine, try to abstract the inverse scenario. Here I try to reach parenting relations transforms to have them reach after bone constraints transforms, which didn't happen. What would the contrary work? I can't answer right now. I believe they would work, but maybe I'm wrong, so I will have to test it. But here is too long enough already this highlight, so I wanted to present just a single case for now, because it's pretty hard to figure out. Took me years, couple of years to just, oh, there's something is not happening, why, and then I started to figure out. So this is, I hope this is a good example. But so the path, I call it pathways. It's so complicated that seldom I've seen any example out there with maybe in some tutorials, but advanced tutorials. But okay, so that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe if you like this content.